Hey there friends, Nibs again. Want to get out of the garage and do a little tinkering tonight. It's raining again outside, so we're going to keep it indoors for today. But I want to do a little tinkering. And what I'm going to be working on today, got another parts kit from Henry Ford. Let's see here, his website is Crosman 600 Repair without an S.com. And you can go to his website or his eBay store, and he has parts kits for just about any Crosman or Benjamin or Sheridan or Hahn, I don't know what else, gun that you can imagine or want to repair. If he doesn't have a kit for it, contact him and he probably can repair it at his shop. So what we are going to be working on today, I've already taken the stock off and set it off to the side, but this is my Crosman Town & Country Model 110, Town & Country Junior, excuse me, and we are going to tear it down and put a new seal kit in it and hopefully get it up and running. It's just that it seems like the guts inside the inside the shot valve are kind of sticky. It'll pump up a couple times and shoot, and then it'll just bleed past no matter what you do, and then maybe one or two times it'll again allow you to make a shot. So we're going to tear it down. Hopefully it doesn't take too long. If some of these steps end up being longer and more tedious, I may cut them out or weed them down a little bit so the video doesn't end up being 2 hours long. But we'll go ahead and tear this guy down and see if we can get her working. So hopefully I'll get you a good angle here. So the first thing we're going to do is I think the pump cup is fine on this, so got bugs flying around here. So for now, I'm just going to remove that and get this out of the way. And if it does need a new pump cup later on, I'll pull it down. But the pump cup seemed to be pretty supple and had good flexibility, I guess you could say. So first thing we want to do to get that out is there's just a little roll pin up here in the front. So you drive that out, and then you can take off the front sight assembly. I like using these empty pellet tins to hold my, so now you can just pull the whole pump assembly out. So yeah, so I think maybe somebody replaced this pump cup in the not too distant past, because every one of these other ones that I've ever worked on that is this kind of age, this thing was hard as a rock, and this one's got pretty good elasticity to it. So before I put it back together, I will wipe it down and clean it up and re-oil it. So what's one thing I think one of the main things I think this gun is suffering from is just being absolutely filthy inside. So we'll go ahead and set this off to the side so when I'm using the brake cleaner I don't destroy that nice looking finish on that wood. Decent looking finish anyway. So the one thing also I got to caution to be careful with is, now that we have that, actually I could, when you have the front barrel band off, this barrel is free floating, and these receivers are only silver soldered on. And what I'll do is, for now, just to support it, I'll go ahead and stick that front piece back in there, just so while I'm working on getting the back end apart, it doesn't end up, because when I was fixing my model 120, I ended up, this piece popped off and I ended up having to learn how to silver solder and put that piece back on. So we'll be nice and careful about that with this one. So the main thing that we're going to be working on is inside of here, there's a valve assembly that we need to take apart, and we'll be working on that. So a couple of little flat blade screws on the side. Hold this back plate on here. So that is under a little bit of spring tension, so be careful when you do start taking that apart, that you don't have parts go flying on you. Might take things out, I like to lay them in order that they came out, so when I'm putting them back together later, I got a little better chance of getting them back together properly. Okay, there she goes. Trying to avoid, if I don't need to, I'm not going to take this the bolt assembly out. It doesn't really look like I'm going to need to do, maybe I will. It's got a little cocking rod on it there. I think I might have to get that out of the way so I can get that cocking rod out of the way so I can get the valve apart. It's gonna need some TLC there. Straighten that guy out. So there's our bolt out. So the next thing we got to do is, and this requires a special little tool that I ended up making one for myself. And basically what it is a little spanner. I imagine a real Crosman guy would have the actual Crosman tool, but I just took an old 7/16 socket, which I have more than enough of, and then you can slide that in. You know, this little extensions nut. And this was when I did my model 120. I made this one up, and it's actually worked for several other repairs that I had to do. All right, so I'm engaged there, but it's tight, so I got to get a ratchet. So this is the step, I believe, on my Model 120 where I ended up breaking that receiver loose. So you got to be real careful when you're doing this. So that wasn't too bad. stuff does not want to move. I'm going to cut it off for a minute, folks. I'm going to pull up the, hopefully pull up an exploded diagram, see what I'm doing wrong here. Alrighty, friends, I'm back. So, actually it was exactly like I thought. Just this little piece here was just stuck inside there from years and years of filth. But what I actually ended up doing was I have a really nice steel cleaning rod, and from the front I lined it up with this. This is the, what they call this, the check valve assembly. This is what, so when you pump it, this moves out of the way and allows air to go inside that valve, inside this chamber, and then when you pull the handle back, that'll spring forward and keep the pressure that you just built from bleeding back out again, so you can pull the lever out and, you know, take another pump at it. And then this back here is actually what they call the exhaust valve. Let me wipe this off to get out of the way for now. But what I ended up doing was I held that upright and went down from the front, lined it up on this check valve, and pushed everything out the back side over here. The actual valve body inside of here is actually also silver soldered in place with this rod here, so you don't want to try to take that apart if you absolutely don't have to, and I don't see any reason to with this one. So this is going to take a lot of cleaning, and I'm not going to keep you guys on for that particular portion of it, but you can see just look how black that is coming off of there. It's just absolutely filthy inside of here. So I'm going to go ahead and clean all this stuff up. So the way that this seals up there, so there's actually a couple different seals in here that I have to replace, but these are all able to be taken apart. This little piece in the front here will unscrew from this valve, and then I can replace it with that one there, and then this little rod will actually screw out of there, and I can replace it with this black one here. There's a little O-ring right here that is right there we'll replace, and I think that's everything in the kit except for the pump cup and the felt, which I said I'm not going to do for now. I believe that had been already replaced in this gun. based on the condition of it, and it's working well. But that's real easy to do down the road if I ever have to just pop that drift pin out at the front there, and I can take that apart. And I've already showed in another video how to replace that. So I'll go ahead and I'll cut it off for now, because this is just tedious work that you guys really don't need to see, and probably will end up going away from the video anyway. But I went to, so what is this, airgunwarriors.com, and I found an awesome document that has exploded diagrams, parts diagrams, instructions on pretty much all of these older Crosmans from like the 102, 101, 102 that you guys seen, the one that I have. And it looks like it goes all the way up to like the 1400 model, but it does have. So I went to Crosman's website, and they used to have the exploded diagrams for these, and they must have just recently eliminated them because they're not there anymore. But here's the little, if you can see that or not, but there's the diagram showing the little pieces here all taken apart. But I'll go ahead and cut this off, and we'll clean all this up, and then we'll put those pieces in, and I'll bring you back on for the reassembly. Alrighty friends, I am back. Man, this thing was absolutely filthy up inside. Actually, I forgot to clean off the bolt here. Let me. But as you can see from these are the swabs that I used to run up inside the barrel, and just cleaning up the valve and everything, all the dirt right there. I got more right there. This thing was a mess inside, but everything's nice and spick and span now. So here are the old seals from inside the valve. This is the front check valve, and that one wasn't too bad. It still had a little bit of give to it. This one's hard as a rock. That one's probably our culprit right there that was causing 99% of our problems. The little seal ring that goes on the back of the back half of the valve, it wasn't broken, but it broke when I was taking it off of there. So, but we'll have a new one right there. Have a new check valve, a new exhaust valve. I got a pump cup and a felt. Save those for future use. Henry always sends a little vial of oil, and I just kind of combine them all as I go. I have 3 or 4 over sitting on my other shelf where I keep extra stuff, but this is great stuff. It's Pel oil. I don't know if it's actually the brand Pel oil, but it's the same stuff. So now we're going to put this guy all back together, and we'll put everything back in the gun. So this little clear O-ring here goes into the check valve, and you actually want to put a little. This is where you want to put a little bit of oil on everything, just make everything go together and not get any nicks or scrapes or anything. So that goes into there, and then this just simply screws back in on top of it. So I have these pliers here are invaluable for working on old air guns and stuff like this. So they have smooth jaws. These are Nipex brand, and so you can grab a hold of stuff like this, and you won't, still don't want to reef down on it too bad, but you can grab a hold of that, and then these don't need to be anything much more than finger tight anyway, but you don't want them coming undone inside the gun as you're using it. A little of oil in there for this other, the exhaust valve O-ring. Working on these guns can be just such a pleasure. If you like tinkering with stuff. So that one should be ready to go, and then that goes inside of this little valve here and will seal up against there. And then this spring goes on, and then this goes on there, and then this will go up inside the gun, and the valve up inside there, that's where all of this came from. So don't want to forget to put this guy on here. So this just slips our little sleeve right there. So now while we're putting this back together, there's one thing you want to make sure on this back half of the valve. There's a hole here, and then there's a blind hole here. We want to make sure that as we're putting this back in here, the open hole has to go to the top so it lines up with the port to go into the barrel, and then the blind hole, you'll be able to witness that down here at the bottom and know that you're lined up properly. If you can't see that blind hole as you're putting this up in there, then you've got issues and you need to address that before you move on. So what I'll do is grab the spanner tool and we'll get that worked up in there, hopefully. There it goes. She's fighting with me. You really don't want to force any of this stuff. I've done this before, folks. It didn't go together as hard as this is making it out to be. Had a little bit of grit I was feeling there. Didn't like the way that was feeling, so. That shaft has got a little bit of surface rust on there, and I'm going to go ahead and cut you guys off. I've got a piece of 1500 grit sandpaper, and I'm going to go ahead and clean that off because that's going to make that valve be sticky. Alrighty, I'm back. So took a little piece of 1500 grit wet dry paper and just very lightly polished that shaft a little bit, and I'm a lot happier with the way that that's moving now. Before that was really kind of sticky, and I think that would have really hampered the success of this rebuild here. So let's go ahead and see if we can get this valve to go back together for us here. Whoa. I almost dropped it. That would have been bad. That barrel would have came right off of there. I know it. Just heard the other parts of the valve go down inside where they need to go, but this sleeve here does not want to. I don't know, folks. Go ahead and cut this off again. I'm gonna work on this a little bit. Alrighty there, folks, I'm back. Sorry about that. It's a little cantankerous here, but I have the valve all back together, and I believe it's gonna be in good and operational condition. Alrighty, sorry about all this on and off, folks, but I was lucky to find that little guy. So let's get the bolt back in place here. So one thing, there's a little hole in the bottom of the pellet probe. You want to make sure that when you put this in there, that's going to be going in the down position. And this little pin. Hopefully my magnetic screwdriver will hold it long enough. This little pin goes down inside. So this little pin is what actually cocks back this hammer here. That's what strikes on the valve to actually send the pellet out. So let's go ahead and I almost goofed up. Almost forgot the guide rod there. That would have been probably not good. So are the few other pieces that I still need to find for this cool little gun. It's missing the rear sight, which I don't think should be too big of an issue to find. But the other thing it's going to be usable, but it's not going to be right. There's on the rod that pushes back and forth the pump cup, there's a little joint in between two pieces, and I'll show you in a second, but that joint is pretty well worn, and that really needs to get replaced eventually. But for now, like I said, it will be usable, and okay, so let's see. Now I just need the pump rod and pump cup. So this joint right here between the main pump arm and the rod is, when I pump it, it's clicking back and forth. I can't make it do it right now, but so I did, while I had the camera off, I did clean up this part here real good, and you won't believe the garbage that came off of this felt. So we'll go ahead and get some good oil on that pump cup and felt. That'll my bench isn't too full of junk and not big enough. Okay, there's that. So now I gotta put the stock back on so I can actually cock the hammer, because if you don't have the hammer cocked, push this you don't cock the hammer's resting against the valve and makes the air all bleed out. Once I know that everything's working good, I'll drive that pin in the front but I don't want to send it home until I know things are working okay. So now you cock back your hammer. Sounds a lot better. Alrighty, so let's see. I'll go ahead and pop that pin in the rest of the way. I think I'm putting it in from the wrong side. Yep, it's going in a lot better that way. Okay. Let me go ahead and bring the camera out over here. Bring it up to my eye level here. Yeah, we'll shoot a couple shots. So the one thing that with that arm being wore out, this won't stay up. That's one thing that's really annoying. I'll have to go ahead and fix that, but hear that clicking noise? That's the that joint. So that's 5 pumps. Just throwing a Crosman Piranha in there. Not so much. I don't have a sight on here, so. Oh yeah, she's shooting good now. There you go. So that was a little more tedious than I had hoped it would be, but we got her done. Rebuilt the valve on my Crosman Model 110, which is also called a Town & Country Junior. This is an interesting one. Most of the ones that I've seen, if you can see on the side here, it just says 22. Most of them say Crosman 22 right there, or Crosman 177 if it's the 109 version. But this one does not say that there. The only place that it says Crosman anywhere on it is on the end of this little cap that's in the back end of the shooting really nice now. So there you go. There's the Town & Country Junior. One step closer to being back into working order. Do have to fix that little problem there. There's a spring inside there also that, along with that joint, the spring is wore pretty much through, and the spring is what actually puts the tension on this arm to hold it up. And then I need my rear sight. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you stuck around to the end to see the success. I know it's a lot longer than most of my videos, so if you didn't, I understand. But if you're still here, I appreciate it. And if you did like the video, please like, share, and subscribe. And we'll see you again next time. Have a great day.